Okay, this is the recording for the Chapter 7 homework. I'll switch over here to screen share. We'll do all of this online here. So let's go over here. Okay, so here's our homework for Chapter 7. And I'm going to do mine. I had a lot of you guys actually install MySQL on your computers. I actually didn't install MySQL on my work computer here. What I did was I've got a web hosting site that I'm using right now. I think it's hosted on GoDaddy, and it allows you to create databases and then run SQL statements on it. So actually in the future of this class, I might make this more of kind of the standard for doing the SQL stuff. Set up a server here at WT and do it like that. So anyway, I'll just start in on the homework problems here. So 16 says using the employee job project tables in Chapter 7 construct co-database. So first of all, I've got to make the construct co-database. Let's go ahead and select all, copy, and come over here. And I'm going to, I've just created a database, but I need to tell MySQL to use it. Okay, so I'm going to say use Chapter 7. Okay, now I'm using Chapter 7. Now I can go back here and go back in here, and now I can paste all of this stuff in for Chapter 7 and hit go. All right, so let's just see if it actually did that. So if I come over here to Chapter 7, one of the nice things about this interface is I can visually look through everything. So I've got all my tables here. Looks like I did everything right. So in this one, I'm using employee. So if I want to look at an employee table, I can see my employees right here. Job, let's see. Here's my job table and project. So I come over here to project. So these are the three tables I'm using. Okay, write the SQL code that will produce the results shown here. So I want the project name, project value, project name, project value, those come from the project table. Project balance comes from the project table. Employee name. So to get the name, I'm going to have to link this number to the number in the employee table. Here's my emp number, and that'll give me my employee name. Last name, first name, initial, job code. So job code's here. Job description. Now to get job description, I'm going to have to come to the job table, and by the job code, I can get the job description, and then job charge per hour is there. Okay, so I know which fields are coming from which tables. So I can come over here and say, and I'm just going to type it all in from scratch here. So select, well, let me put our, select proj name, proj value, proj balance, emp L name, emp F name, emp initial, job code. And I'm recognizing as I'm typing here, I just made an error. And I'll show you what that error is in a minute, but I kind of want you to see how you can kind of learned from mistakes in here. Anyway, job description, job, charge, hour. Okay. From, and my tables are employee, job, project, where employee dot temp num equals project dot emp num and employee dot job code equals job dot job code. I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and run this and see what it gives me. It's going to tell me job code is ambiguous. Now, the reason job code is ambiguous here is because job code exists in the employee table as a field there, and it also exists as a field in the job table. So I have to tell it which table to get job code from if I'm going to put it in the results here. So I could say either employee or job. I'm going to say job here because it's shorter to type. It really doesn't matter because in this case they all exist everywhere. So look at this, looking back at the figure there, perfect. So there is my first query that I needed here. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to keep a, I'll do it in Word. Keep a Word document open here. And I'm going to put this in there, put a semicolon at the end because I like that. Okay, so that's, and you probably can't see that because I'm just sharing the web window. Anyway, that'll keep me from having to retype things later. So there's the first one. First one's done. Number 17, write the SQL code that will produce the same information that was shown in 16, but sorted by the employee's last name. Well, I probably shouldn't have deleted all that. So I need an order by clause now, which is really easy. So I just say order by emp L name. Okay, go. And there it is. Now here's the employee's last name, and that's how we're sorted. So pretty easy there. Go ahead and copy this. Put in my answer key over here. Okay. And now I can delete all that. All right, so 16, 17, what else do we need? 21, 22, and 23. Okay. Write the SQL code to calculate assigned charge values in the assignment table. Okay. Assigned charge is a derived attribute that's calculated by multiplying assigned charge per hour and assigned hours. Cool. That's an easy one. That's kind of fun. So let's come over here and look at the assignment table first. I always like to look at it before I do anything. So basically what I'm trying to do is I want to calculate the assigned charge values. It doesn't really tell me what all the output here, but I've got assigned charge per hour and assigned hours. Oh, I already got assigned charge. Huh, that's kind of weird. I don't understand why it gave it to you and then asked you to calculate it. I'm going to assume that that's not there. So come over here. Now, one of the interesting things about this is it puts these little backticks around the table name. And what those do is tell MySQL that there's a table name here. You can put those around field names too. The only time that really matters is when you've got a space in your field name. So if I had a space in here, if I didn't have those backticks around it, MySQL would only recognize the first part as the table name. So by putting the backticks around it, it tells them that the whole thing is the table name. Anyway, so I'm going to say select all, and then I'm just going to add one more value here. And I'm going to say, whoops, assign charge hour, whoops, times assign hours as assign, and I can't call it assign charge because there's already a field called assign charge. So I'm going to say assign charge to. It doesn't really matter. And this threw in a where clause, but I don't need a where clause. So let's just say that. Go. All right, everything and assign charge to. And conveniently, assign charge to is exactly the same as assign charge, which it should be, because that's how it should have been calculated. So cool. All right, number 21 is done. Copy this into my answer key. Okay. Now what am I doing? 21, 22, and 23, I think. Yep. Oh, and 24. Yeah. All right. So 22, using the assignment table, write the SQL code that will yield the total numbers of hours worked for each employee and the total charges stemming from those hours worked. The results of the running query are shown in this figure. So, okay. It's throwing a little bit of a curveball in here, because in the assignment table, you've got the employee number, you don't have the employee last name. So you actually have to combine this with the employee table, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and first get the employee joined with that. So let's come over here to SQL, and I'll just start from scratch. I like to start from scratch anyway. Select emp num. Actually, I need to tell it which table to get this from. Employee.emp num. Emp L name. And then assign hours, assign charge. Okay. From employee and assignments where employee.emp num equal assignments. Whoops. If I could type here, dot emp num. Okay, so I've got the right information now. Now I need to group and do some aggregate functions. So let's do the query box again. My aggregate functions here, I want the sum of assign hours as sum of assign hours and I want the sum assigned charge as sum of sign charge. Okay. And I'm going to say group by employee.emp num, and instead of where, this is going to become a having, because I'm grouping by this value right here. And if I use this in the group by, then instead of where, this becomes a having. See how that works. May have made a mistake here. Unknown column, assignment. Did I spell this wrong? Whoops. Shoot, I just lost it. Okay. I'm going to do this one a little bit differently. I don't like the group by using two tables here. So I'm going to do a little bit different. Select. I'm just going to use the assignment table. Yep. Num. Sum assign hours as sum of assign hours, sum assign charge as sum of assign charge from assignments group by emp num. Oh, I threw in too many S's. That'll kill you. Okay, so I've got that. Now, if I want the employee last name, there's a couple ways I can do it. I can do, in fact, it might be easiest. I could do an inner join, and that would work fairly well. Or I can do a subquery. I think you guys are learning about subqueries in chapter 8. So it doesn't necessarily matter as much how you get that, but I'll go ahead and get that just because I think that it's important to kind of show you how you could do that. So I know I want something that says emp last name, but I've got to get it from somewhere else. So I'm going to say select emp name from employee where employee dot emp num equals assignment dot emp num. See how that does? Huh. Oh. Typed too fast. Okay. So I got it here. Again, I'm not gonna think it's a big deal because I'm really not sure if you can do that with just the information in this chapter. But that's how we can do it. And most of that you can do from the information in this chapter. I was more interested to see how you were able to get the sums of those values. Okay. 23, write a query to produce the total number of hours and charges for each of the projects represented in the assignment table. Okay. Okay. So we're still using the project table. So actually, sum of assigned hours and sum of charges are still there, and I'm going to reuse those because I like reusing code. But now I'm going to say proj num. Proj num. So select proj num. These sum statements are still the same from assignment group by proj num. And that looks like that's exactly what it wants. Cool. Now we got our projects, some of the hours, some of the charges. Cool. Okay. All right, 24 I think is the next one. Yep. All right, 24 says, write the SQL code to generate the total hours worked and the total charges made by all employees. Okay. It wants you to use 7.22 as the basis. Funny thing is, this one doesn't have to use 7.22 as the basis because it's the exact same thing as saying this right here with no group num or with no group by. If you just take out the group by, you've got it right there. And that's the exact same values. I guess I'll go ahead and show you how you could do it using the other one as the basis if you want to, because that's how the book told you to do it. It's a more complicated way to do it, but if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine. Okay. So here was the code for question number 22. Actually, this doesn't need semicolons in here in PHP-MyAdmin. Okay, so I've got this right here. To use that as the basis for another one, I've got to save that as a view. So I'm going to say create view, and I'm going to call it whatever I want. I'm going to say maybe imp, well, let's say hours by imp as. Okay, so create view hours by imp as, and this select statement. So go there. Okay, now I have a new view called hours by imp, and it's this right here. So now if I want to do something based on this view, I can say, and I'm going to copy code from another one here. Okay. So now I copied some code that I used earlier, but instead of summing assign hours, now I'm summing sum of assign hours because that's the actual field that's in here. So I'm going to put sum of assign hours in here, Actually, let's just copy this little sum of, because it looks like that's how I'm changing everything. So sum of assign hours as sum of, whoops, put that in the wrong place, as sum of assign hours, sum of assign charge as sum of assign charge from hours by employee. Okay, and there it is. So a couple ways you can do it. You don't have to do it the way that the book told you there. In fact, it's simpler to not, but you can do it that way if you want to. All right, next number here, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Cool. All right, so start at 26 and keep going until I get to 32. 26 wants me to use the SailCo database. All right, so now let's just get rid of this. I need to open the text for the SailCo database. Luckily, the SailCo database and the ConstructCo database do not use the same table names. So I really don't have to delete my database. I can just run this. Ooh. Oh, they do use the same table names. Okay. What's the easiest way to do this? Is employee the only one that's used? That's weird. In the little relational diagram that it shows for the SailCo database, it doesn't show a table called employee. That's funny. Well, I'm going to do the easiest way. So I'm going to say drop table. You know what? There's probably foreign keys places too. Well, this is frustrating. Let's go. I'll just create a new database. So this is my administrator side of web hosting deal that I have. So I have to go in here, create a new database. I'm going to say chapter 7-2. Well, let's call it 7_2. I think dashes are almost like spaces, and it doesn't like, anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. But let's call it 7_2. Okay, add a database, go back. So let's refresh here. Take 7_2. Okay. Now I'm in that database, and now I'm going to run all this. Go. Cool. So now 7_2 has all these tables. Okay. So 26 says write a query to count the number of invoices. That's easy. All right, invoices, invoice number. So select count star from invoice. Ooh. I have 8 invoices. Copy that. Okay. All right. 27. Write a query to count the number of customers with a balance of more than $500. Okay, let's look at my customers. Customer balance, good. I was hoping that was in there. Okay, so visually we can see there are two customers with a balance greater than that. So come over here, select count all from customer, where cus balance greater than 500. 2. Perfect. Okay, 28, generate a list of purchases made by customers using the output shown in 7.28 as your guide. Okay, so I want the customer code, invoice number. Invoice number is not in this table. Invoice date, description, line units, line price. Okay, so I'm joining some tables together. Customer code comes from, well, it comes from the customer table, but it looks like it's probably also in, here, I'm going to close this chapter 7. Expand, all right, 7.2. So invoice table. From the invoice table, I can get the customer code and the invoice number and the invoice date. After that, I need to go to the invoice line probably. Line to get P code. Well, let's see. I can get the line units, the line price, but to get the P description, I'm probably going to have to go to a product table. Yep, P description right there. Okay, so I'm using 3 tables: invoice, invoice line, and product. So let's just start from scratch on this one. Select cus code, invoice dot invoice number, INV number. And the reason I did invoice dot is because that one also exists in the invoice line, or in the line table. Okay. Invoice number, inv date, P descript, line units, line price, from invoice line product, where invoice dot inv num equals line dot inv num and line dot P code equals product dot P code. All right, see how that works? Oh. Number, not num, inv number. There we go. Cool. Okay, that looks just like the other one. Actually, it doesn't look exactly like the other one. They're just sorted in different orders, it looks like. Does it want it to look exactly? Generate a list of purchases. I'll use the order by clause to order the resulting rows. So it looks like it orders by the cus code and then the invoice number, and then maybe the P description. It's hard to really tell what order they go in. Go back to the SQL. Oh my gosh. Hate when I do that. So I just lost it all. Select code and number and date. P script line units line price from voice line product where invoice dot inv number equals line and number and line dot P code equals product dot P code. And actually I forgot, this needs to be, I'll do line dot env number. Doesn't really matter which one I do. Order by cus code line dot env number P script. Try that. That looks right. Good enough for me. All right. Pretty sure those are exactly the same. Show query box, not SQL. Okay, this time I got it. Okay. 29. Using the output shown in figure there, generate a list of customer purchases, including subtotals for each of the invoice line numbers. Hint, modify the query format used to produce the list of customer purchases, delete the invoice date column, and add the derived attribute line units times line price to calculate subtotals. Huh, that's easy. So get rid of invoice date, it said. Okay. And just added one more column here. I don't care about renaming things units bought and unit price. I'm just going to say line units times line price as subtotal. See how that does. Okay, almost exactly the same. My formatting's a little different than what the book shows, but I'm not concerned about formatting right now. If you're concerned about that, you can format numbers in MySQL, and it's pretty easy to figure out how to do just searching online. But again, I'm not that concerned about it. Okay, so modify the query used in 29 to produce the summary shown in 30. The summary shown in 30 has the customer code, customer balance, and total purchases. Now that's interesting because the customer balance comes from the customer table. And that's okay, we can do that. Okay. Total purchases is the sum of all of our subtotals. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to get the customer code, the subtotal, and honestly, I don't need the product table anymore. So I'm going to get rid of the product table. Okay, I'm also going to get rid of all my order buys except for the customer code. So let's just get customer code, my subtotals, and see what that does. So customer code, subtotals. Okay. Now if I sum those subtotals, that'll give me my total purchases. Let's say sum of this as total purchases. Now if I want the space in there like they did, I can use that backtick. Total space purchases, and then use the backtick to close it. And instead of order by, now I'm going to say group by cuss code. See what that does. Okay. I've got all that. Now I just need to add one more table in here. I need to add the customer table here. So I'm going to say customer.custcode, comma, cus balance, add customer here, and all right, let's see what that does. Okay, cus code, customer balance, total purchases. That's what I wanted. That's what I got. Okay. And I hope I'm kind of showing you how I like to build queries a little bit at a time. I get the basics of what I want, and then I just start adding things in, and I eventually get what I need. All right. I'm going through 32. So 31, modify the query in problem 30 to include the number of individual product purchases made by each customer. Huh. Okay, so I want the individual product purchases made by each customer. So I think I can just add count P underscore code. Is it? I don't think that's right. I think it's actually count line number. I think that's what they're trying to get you to do in that hint. But we'll find out here. As, and again, if I want spaces, I need to use this backtick number of purchases. Okay. 63621, perfect. All right. Copy all of that. Answer key's getting big. Okay, now the last one, 32. Use a query to compute the average purchase amount per product made by each customer. Okay, so it looks like in this average purchase amount is basically total purchases divided by number of purchases. And in fact, on this one, it tells you here, it says, use the results of 31 as the basis for this query. Yeah, and instead of saying modify the query. So what it's saying is actually the better way to do this is rather than trying to modify this, they want you to create a view that gives you this results and then basically add a column to it. So I'm going to do create view call it what is this that I just got? Tote purchases. Tote purchase as that. So create a view. Cool. Now I've got a view called tote purchase, and it's the same thing, but now come over here and say select all from that, but then I want one more column, and this column is going to be total purchases, which I have to use the backtick since it's got spaces in there. Total purchases divided by number, capitalized number of purchase. You can easily see why you don't ever want spaces in your field names. That's okay. As average purchase amount. And get rid of this where that it threw in there. Okay, see what this does. Cool. And compare my amounts. They look exactly the same, just formatted a little differently. That is it. Okay, copy that onto my answer key, and I'm done. Okay. Let's see if there are any more questions. Nope, through 32. And that's it. Probably took me a little bit less time than it took you guys. It's just because I've been doing this for a while. But what I'm interested in is you guys really thinking through how to get these things. So let's go quit screen sharing. All right, and that's all I've got for this homework explanation.